Hello and what is up everybody, it's Rob from Epic Arrow, and in this video we are going to focus on-page SEO. So when you're doing on-page SEO, I want you to think about it as the foundation of your website, and anything you build on top of that, such as links, is going to be what you build on top of the foundation. Now if you think about this in terms of a house, if you have a crappy foundation, when you start building on top of it, you're going to fail at building a house. Same thing applies to SEO. One thing that I see a ton of people do is they neglect this part and they always focus on off-page SEO. It's the glamorous thing. Everyone's talking about it. You got PBN, social bookmarks. Everyone's like, oh my God, this is how you rank in the search engines. Well, guess what? Every single time someone comes to me and they say, I can't break page 2 of Google, what am I doing wrong? I say, go back and look at your on-page SEO. And 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. So, what is on-page SEO? What is the definition? It's the process of optimizing a specific page on a website that influences ranking in the search engines. And some of these factors include meta keywords, meta description, title tags, header tags, image alt tags, article word count, keyword density, schema markup, and page speed. Now, what these things do is they tell Google what your site is about and the performance of your site. And it also is a factor in how Google crawls your site and how easy it is for them to crawl and figure out what your site is about. So by getting these things right off the bat, you're going to tell Google, okay, this is what this page is about, and Google's going to understand it, and it's going to put it in that category. And then once you start building links, then Google starts to go out and see, all right, well, maybe this page is a little more authoritative than we thought it was to begin with, because people obviously like it. Now, when we're doing this, I use 2 WordPress plugins that help me ace on-page SEO every single time. So let's jump over and take a look at those plugins. Okay, now one great thing about Google is that they have to show you what they want for on-page SEO factors every single time. So what do I mean by this? Well, if I was trying to rank for this keyword, I would type this in and search for it. And then I would go to each site, I would right click and do view page source, and then I would do a control F and I would start going through and looking for the meta keywords, meta description, title tags, header tags, image alt tags, all of that stuff. So we type in keywords. Now that's not the meta keywords. They're typically at the top, so they're not using them. Type in description, and that's not the meta description. We'll scroll to the top here and we see the meta description and what they are using for it. Copy and paste that, put it in an Excel spreadsheet. And we would continue to do this for all of the on-page factors, such as title tag. Now, as you can see, this is going to take forever to go through each result on the first page and put these in Excel spreadsheets. So we have developed a solution to get around this, and it's called Epic On-Page SEO. So what you're going to do is you're going to type your keyword in here, and then you're going to hit submit. And what this is doing is it's going out, it's grabbing all those URLs from Google and top 10 results, and it's grabbing all of those on-page factors. So as we can see, the first grid is the page URLs, and these are all clickable. And then it gives you the internal and external links that are on the page, the number of them. Then we get the meta keywords. And as you can see, if they have not used the meta keywords, the background of this row will be red. And if they did, it'll be green. Now, if they used any of these words in the meta keywords, you'll see that it is enlarged and put in red. It's the same premise for the meta description. So if I was looking at the meta keywords, I would say, okay, 9 out of 10 results are not using them, so I'm not even going to bother with meta keywords. Then we hop down to meta description, and you'll see that 7 out of 10 are using the meta description. So I would say, okay, I need to use a meta description. What should I use for it? Then I would go through and look at their meta description and look at these highlighted words to see if they are using any of these words that appear in this keyword in the meta description. And I would do the same thing for the page title, same thing for the H1 tags, H2 tags, H3 tags, the image alt tags. And then it's going to tell me what the page word count is, so I can determine how big of an article I need written for my page. And at the bottom, it's going to give you an average word count. So that's it for Epic on-page SEO. You can see that it puts it in some nice grids, makes it really easy to analyze and go over. And once you've determined what you need, then we're going to include in the bottom an on-page SEO checklist. And this is exactly what I do. I go through, I look at the meta keywords, and then I put notes. Did they use them and what are they using? Same thing for meta description, and I'll go through and I'll check all of these off. Now, the bottom below this video, you're going to have the checklist. All you have to do is like this page and you can grab these checklists. So once you've compiled everything that you're going to need for a specific page, then we're going to move on to another plugin called Yoast SEO, and this is what we're going to use to plug all of these into. Now that we've determined what we are going to use for our on-page factors, we need to download a plugin that will allow us to put those in. So we're going to go to Plugins, Add New, search for Yoast SEO, and this plugin right here is the one that you're going to need to install. So we're going to install it and then activate the plugin. Now once it's activated, you'll see that you have a new menu icon down here. So let's go through and start to fill out some of the information. So for my info, let's just you would put the name of your site, and then you would choose whether you want it to be a company or person. Choose company and save changes. Then I'd head to Webmaster Tools. And in this section, you can copy any verification that you need for Webmaster Tools and put it in here, and you can save it so you can verify that. Security, I leave as is, and I do not mess around with onpage.org. For titles and metas, I typically like to leave the separator as this little dash. It looks the most natural to me. For the home page, you can go ahead and set the title template and the meta description template for it. And for posts, I generally do not mess around with the templates because I want to do these individually on the pages, as you'll see here in a moment. For taxonomies, I typically do not index these, so I put no index for meta robots, and I do the same for tags. And I will save those changes. And then I go to archives, and I also no index author archives. This is already no indexed, and then I save changes. Then you can go to the social media tab and put all of your social media accounts. You can then click through, and I always enable Open Graph metadata. That way when someone shares your website, it'll show up very nicely on the individual social media profiles. So I'll go ahead and upload an image of my logo, put a title and description, and put a default URL. I'll also enable leave Twitter enabled. I do not do much with Pinterest, but if I did, I would verify Pinterest and also verify my Google Plus page. For XML sitemaps, I always leave this enabled, and I don't use any other sitemap plugin for this feature. And then this will help you to generate a sitemap and submit it to Google Webmaster Tools. Advanced, I do not mess around with. Tools, I do not mess around with. And Search Console. I will put Search Console, and it'll show you how to get a Google authorization code. Now what this will do is if you sync this up with your Webmaster account, it will go ahead and display any error that you get in your Webmaster account in your WordPress dashboard. It's really helpful so you don't have to switch between programs or switch between websites. Now on the post and page level, let's add a new one. You can see that you can manipulate any of the little snippets down here. Like if I fill in this title, test post, you'll see that the changes are reflected down here based on the template that you have set up. Now you can go ahead and click on these, and you can further customize them to your liking. You could do test post, about something. So you can change up what you would be using for your SEO title. You can also modify the meta description if you are using a meta description for the specific post, and you'll see that it is reflected if I can type today on that. You can also add a focus keyword, and what this does is it gives you content analysis for that keyword, allows you to see that if it's used in the text and other various aspects of SEO. I don't really focus too much on this. It's very generic, I believe. I tend to focus more on what I've gotten back from Google. So that's basically how I set up the Yoast plugin. If you have any other questions about how I set this up, you can leave some comments in the comment section below. I know we went through this kind of fast, but I'm trying to make these videos a little bit shorter. So there's two other factors I want to focus on. One is schema.org, and this is a markup language, and the other is your page speed. So I'm going to jump out of here, and we're going to go over to schema.org. Now, I'm not going to get too in-depth with this. It's probably going to require another video, so this one's not like 20 minutes long. But what it is a structured data language that the internet and web pages use to display and gather information. And Google has started to put more and more importance on this. Now let's look at some examples of what schema does and how Google is using it. These little star ratings and who this is reviewed by is all schema. And not only does Google like this because it gives them more information about the page, but you can also see if you were going through these search results and you saw something like this, you're more likely to pick this page to visit. So I just want you to be aware of it, but like I said, I'm not going to get too in depth, and I will be shooting another video. But the last thing I want to talk about is Google Page Speed Insights. Now what this is you can plug a URL in here, like let's go grab one. Actually, let's grab a different one. Okay, so we'll grab this one, and we'll go ahead and throw it in there. And what this is doing is it's analyzing the site and trying to come up with ways that you can improve the page speed on it. And I put a lot of importance on this because anything that Google is going to give you directly, you should definitely start using. And what you're going to see here is these people could really fix their page. Now it shows you a mobile version and a desktop version, and it shows you how Google thinks you should fix this. So it's saying that the images are not optimized correctly, to reduce the server response time, and a bunch of other things. Now, you can also look at the desktop, and it'll show you about the same thing. What I like to do when I'm going through this is I want to see this in green. Typically, scores of 80 or above are in green. I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to find one, but we will try here. Let's try this site, just to give you another reference point. We'll give it a second. Now you're going to see this is a lot better, but it's not great. I would still try to fix some of the things that are wrong here. Another thing it's going to give you when you look at mobile is user experience. And Google has put a lot of stock into mobile responsive websites. If you're not mobile responsive, then it's going to hurt your chances of ranking in the search engines, especially for searches done on mobile websites. And it'll also give you an indication here of how the user experience is on a mobile phone. Now, when you're using WordPress, which I highly suggest you use, and there's tons of videos showing you how to install it and use it, so I'm not going to shoot a video. Just do a Google search. But when you're using WordPress, most likely anything that you use is going to be mobile responsive, so you're not going to have to worry about it, but it is something to keep in mind that you definitely want your site to be mobile responsive. But jumping back to this, if this was me, I would go through this site and fix everything I could. It just gives me a better chance of ranking in the search engine. Okay, now that we're done talking about on-page factors, let's do a little summary and recap. So, when we're looking for meta keywords, meta descriptions, title tags, header tags, image alt tags, article word count, all that good stuff, we're going to be using Epic on-page SEO to determine what we will be plugging into those values. Now, when we actually go to plug in the values, we will be downloading a program or a plugin called Yoast SEO, and we'll be using those values in the appropriate places. We covered a little bit about schema, and like I said, I will shoot another video on the topic, but going forward, I would go to schema.org and do a little research yourself. And for page speeds, use Google Page Speed Insights. Anything that you can get Google that they tell you they would like you to improve, I would highly, highly, highly suggest that you do it. So, that about wraps it up. We're going to move on to off-page factors and backlinking. But if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or you would like to share how you do your on-page SEO, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Alright, you made it to the end of the video. If you'd like to move on to the next lesson, please click the video on the right, or if you would like to go back to the previous lesson, click the video on your left.